Welcome back to the training video series of Local Site Builder. This is going to be the third and final training video that we're going to go over, and in this video it's going to be the most lengthy, but we're going to cover the most important part of Local Site Builder, which is the site manager. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time, but I'm going to go ahead and dive straight into the site manager. Now you'll see that yellowpagesindiana.net is already there. I'm going to show you a cool little feature right over here which just allows you to highlight, for instance, a individual letter in your domain to perhaps make it more readable. If you'd like to do that, of course not necessary, but just a neat little feature that we added there. Now to start managing the domain name, you want to start by going over to Edit. And inside of the Edit page, you're going to see a lot of different settings that you can do. So I'm just going to start chipping away at each one of these. You'll see the domain name has been modified there. Now the site title, this is your metadata. So I'm going to have Yellow Pages Indiana as the site title. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and skip the logo for now. I'm just going to go ahead and modify all of the individual metadata. So I'm going to skip from site title down here to the keywords. And I'm just going to put Yellow Pages Indiana, etc. And now the site description, of course, for Google recommended about 160 characters, but I'm just going to write a quick site description here. And that will go ahead and set my metadata in place. Now from there, I'm going to dive back up here to the custom logo. And I've had my designer build me a quick Yellow Pages Indiana logo file, .png, but it accepts all graphic files such as JPEG or GIF. Now from there, you can set what the default search keyword is, the default what and where. Now you'll notice here that I'm located in Derby, Kansas. So the website is already set up to grab dynamic location variables. So I would recommend leaving it this way, but if you have a geodomain like Indiana that you wanted to force the location to always be Indiana, then of course you could do that down here. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I'm not going to do that, but if you wanted to override that setting, which will grab a dynamic, it'll do an IP query search to find out your location. You can override that by right here, and you could just put Indiana or even a city and a state. And of course, a default keyword will input a default keyword here in the business name or category. So the way the websites function out of the gate is requires you to enter in this before you can conduct this search, or you can come down here and select one of these categories, and you'll see that it pulls up limousine searches now in Derby, Kansas, and so went ahead and performed the search for me. And there's some limousine services there here in the local area. So I'm going to go ahead and skip those two and just cover the stats code, which is if you would like to add in Google Analytics or Get Clicky or any of the other analytics packages that perhaps you would like to track. Again, we are not really a big fan of incorporating Google Analytics into these websites, which is why we have a analytics package built in. But of course, for those who want to use that, this will just add the stats code directly to the footer of the source code. And then after that, we'll go ahead and cover the permalink style. The default is set to the sample page.html, but if you'd like to drop the HTML and force a trailing slash or create more of a blog style type system, you can definitely do that just by changing the permalink structure right there. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and that will cover our basic settings. I'm going to go back up here, and again we're going to be waiting on that queue, which runs every 60 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and click pause, wait 60 seconds, and I'll come back. So I'm back after the queue has updated, and I clicked refresh, and you'll see that the logo is now live, and of course the banners, or rather the AdSense code that I inputted on video number 2 of this training series is already showing up live as well. So I'm going to dive into some of these inner pages. I'll stick with the limousine services here. And you'll see all the different areas that the banners are going to start to show up. Now AdSense, of course, only allows 3 spots So it grabs the first three, but if you'll remember, we did input a 160 by 600 here. So if you wanted that to show up, of course, you could enter in banner code other than the AdSense that I did, because Google does have those limitations on you. So from there, I want to dive back over into the Site Manager area and show you a few other really cool things. I'm going to skip the custom pages for now. I'll come back to that in just a second. I'm going to go to the layout. Now under the layouts, right now as we roll into public beta, we only have two layouts. One is the yellow theme and one is the local business theme. This is more of a directory style theme, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with the yellow theme, but eventually you'll come back to this area and you'll see multiple themes that you can use for your website, such as a lead generation theme, or again, we've got a number of various concepts on the chopping block that we're going to be chipping away at and adding those as we complete them. And from there, I'm going to dive back over to the custom pages. Now, custom pages can be any kind of content that you want to add to the domain name. For the purpose of this training video, I'm going to add in a terms and conditions and a privacy policy. But for instance, if you wanted to produce an article, you could write an article to enhance the overall search engine optimization effectiveness or your organic rankings with each of these domains. And I personally recommend about 3 to 5 articles per domain that you set up. Now, to do that, I use this nifty little service from bennatal.com. And if you go to Google and you just type in terms of service generator, and I'll go ahead and place a link on the resources page, you'll gain access to this really neat tool. So the company name, I'm just going to grab the domain name here, yellowpagesindiana.net, and say the company state, we'll go ahead and put Indiana. Create our terms and service. So I'm just going to copy this terms and service right into the website. So I'm going to click over here on the far right that says add a custom page. The page title is going to be terms and conditions. It'll go ahead and spit out a permalink slug. Of course, you can modify that. Post date if you'd like to make it a little bit more bloggy. Or blog in appearance. I guess bloggy is not really a word, but we'll make it up today. And again, this would affect your permalink structure if you were using the date in the permalink structure. Now I'm going to put the terms and conditions just in the footer, but you can also make this page hidden or put it in the main navigation if the theme supports it. And down here you have a pretty standard WYSIWYG editor that you can just copy and paste your text straight into, both with a source editor and the WYSIWYG editor. And I'm just going to create that page. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and create my privacy policy as well. There you have it. So now I've created two pages, the terms and conditions and the privacy policy. And so in a moment I'm going to go back to the domain name and I'll show you these two pages. But before I do that, I want to cover this last area, which is the banners. Now, if you'll remember in video 2, I talked about the difference between default banners and non-default banners. So if you'll remember, we uploaded two 160 by 600 ad codes. And of course, the theme, or rather this domain name, is currently pulling all the default banner codes that we set as the default. However, if on this page, let's say for instance you sold a banner slot to a company in Indiana, you could actually add their banner code and then come to this domain name and select the non-default, which in this case was the AdSense number 2. And you could select any number of banner configurations on a per domain basis. So that's the reason why you need your defaults, because out of the gate that will create all these nice banner areas. But then we give you full flexibility to go in on a per domain basis and to modify those banners at your will. So that pretty much covers all the settings of the Site Manager. But let's go ahead and click refresh one more time, or actually let me head back to the home page here. and you'll see our terms and conditions and privacy policy were added to the domain name. I'll go ahead and mention too that there's a sitemap integrated with every domain, so you don't actually have to add a sitemap, but you do need to add in your terms and conditions, privacy policy, and any other content that you want to help enhance your domain's search engine optimization. So I'm going to go ahead and close it down. That is Local Site Builder. That's the third and last training video that we're going to cover. So by now you should be a Local Site Builder Pro, and we are really excited to have you as a user.